Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. Today, it's just me, solo potting, baby. So thank you again to everyone who listens to this show. Please remember to like, subscribe, leave a positive review, all that stuff. It really, really helps grow the show. One thing I want to mention, and I forgot to mention this 2 weeks ago, is that we just had the 5th anniversary of the show. Isn't that incredible? I started this podcast before a worldwide pandemic. Literally the worst time to start an NBA podcast. I mean, I was going to start it like mid-January and then Kobe passed, which was devastating. And I was like, well, I don't want that to be the first episode. Then I had a fun little episode about Spike Lee and getting kicked out of the Garden and all this weirdness. And then, next week it'll be 5 years since Rudy Gobert touched all those mics. Huh? Crazy. I used to do a lot of solo pods then during the pandemic in like a literal closet because I had roommates at the time and that was where I could get the best sound. But, we're moving on up, baby. We're moving on up. Thank you again to everyone. Whether you are new to the show or you've been with me since day one, I appreciate you so much. And shout out to Raptors Republic. I pitched the show to them after doing it for a couple years. They liked it. They brought me on. They've always let me be myself, and I'm really grateful. Look at that. Just expressing some good old-fashioned gratitude. For those who want to know, my puppy's doing great. Thank you for asking. She has been bribed with peanut butter and is having a great time in her grate, so she won't be bothering us. Okay, NBA stuff. Once again, just another devastating week for the Dallas Mavericks. As you know, Kyrie Irving tore his ACL and he's out for quote unquote the remainder of the season. Realistically, with an ACL injury, most players, obvious disclaimer, not a doctor, but most players miss minimum a year. So there's a world where maybe he comes back at the very end of next season, but based on how things go, it might make more sense to just sit him out for the entire next season and see him in 2026, 2027. So a real devastating loss there for Dallas on top of everything else. And also too, I've been critical of Kyrie on this show. Like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years. There's no way you could have been talking about NBA basketball for the last 5 years without being critical of Kyrie Irving. However, he has really redeemed himself in Dallas. I think that goes without saying. He seems like we're just going to swear a bit here because it's just me. But, he's really gotten his shit together, both on the court and seemingly off the court, right? Like, it seems like whatever was going on with his mental health, he has at least figured out to the point where we, the outside public, are not seeing the effects of that, whatever that means. But also too, he's had a lot of community involvement in Dallas and abroad. And I feel like, I was really happy for him because when you call somebody out for bad behavior or whatever it happens to be, you want to see this type of redemption arc, right? Like you want to see people kind of like figure themselves out. And Kyrie is one of those people. So, um, yeah, I mean, he was going to quote unquote lead this team to the playoffs. I don't know where he was going to lead them, but he was, post Luca, which has only been a month, was really going to take on the opportunity of being a leader, like the leader. And he seemed like he was doing a good job. Despite all the other injuries they've had, they were still winning games. But now that this injury has happened, first of all, the Dallas Mavericks currently only have 8 active players. That is how much injury struggle they've been going through this year, which is terrible. But I think it is, without being dramatic, this has screwed the Mavericks organization over for, at minimum, the rest of the decade. And I don't think that's being dramatic. When you really look at it, like, obviously the Luka trade is mind-boggling, and we've been over that. The Anthony Davis injury sucks, but also not the most unpredictable thing in the world. The Kyrie injury, I'm not gonna go so far as to say it's predictable, but it's not unrealistic that somebody at his age could have a very big injury. It's funny that, Nico was all like, "This team's ready to win now." And now this team's not gonna win a championship for minimum the next 5 years. Minimum, and that's being generous. I think this last month has been the worst month, not just in Mavericks history, but maybe of any organization in the NBA. I can't think of an organization that's had a worse month. And on top of all of this, they've had the audacity to raise their season ticket prices by over 8%. It's like just over 8%. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think the nerve of them. And also, like, who is renewing their season tickets after all of this? I mean, ask yourself, if you went through anything like this with the Raptors, would you renew your season tickets? I mean, it's hard to believe this would ever happen to the Raptors. So I'm just saying, to put it in a fan perspective. I read an article, I don't know if this is true or not, but they are estimated to currently have a $700 million loss post Luka trade. I mean, that's more than double what the max would have been, just saying. They also have a lack of draft capital. They have traded it over the last few years. I believe they do not have a 2027 or a 2030 pick. So, this really begs the question, do they now trade Anthony Davis? Because they're not winning now, right? When they made this trade, as illogical as it was, and it was illogical, they were like, we're ready to win now. But now you don't have Kyrie for a whole year. Oh, sorry, my puppy escaped from the crate, which means I didn't lock it properly. Maybe she'll be chill. We'll see. If not, I'll pause. If not, I'll pause. Okay. But now it's like you're not ready to win now, and you're not going to win in the next few years. So what do you do? Like, it would be crazy to trade Anthony Davis after all of this, but now you're not in a win now scenario anymore. Also, does Anthony Davis just like force himself out of there like he did when he was with New Orleans, right? Yeah, that's not new to Anthony Davis to be like, I don't want to be here. Now, as of right now, he's been nothing but a team player. Like, he's on the bench with the guys. He's doing his best to what's the word I'm looking for? But I guess just like involve himself in the team, right? Like, he's doing his best to be like, I'm a Maverick now. But the city hasn't exactly embraced the guy, and I understand why. But, Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, which obviously big asterisks on that, when he's healthy, he is a top 10 player in the league right now, wouldn't you say? I mean, if not exact top 10, close. He would be close. And I just think, like, for him at the stage of career that he's at, why would you want to be a part of this gigantic mess? Because you don't have Kyrie next year, right? I mean, you might have Derek Lively again. I mean, you will have Derek Lively again. You'll have PJ Washington again, but are you winning a championship with those guys? Like, not really. The other part of this is, okay, two underrated storylines behind this whole Mavericks drama. Number one, They also traded away Quentin Grimes. He is now on the 76ers. Quentin Grimes was he's probably not going to win Sixth Man of the Year, especially not now. But him, along with Ty Jerome in Cleveland, were the Sixth Man of the Year candidates. And the other night, he just had a 44-point night. And it's like, man, could they use his offense right now? You know, just another bad trade. I don't even know who they got for him. Oh, wait, I do. But he's also injured right now. Who did they get for Quentin Grimes? Good podcasting. Let's Google it. Quentin Grimes trade. Caleb Martin. That's who he was traded for, and a second round pick in 2030. Not good. Just not good. Just adding to all the not good that is going on there. What else do I want to say about this? Oh, the other underrated storyline behind all of this is Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson signed with this team, left the Warriors to sign with this team so he could win a championship. And now look at this. Disaster. They're not even going to be in the playoffs. Like, currently, are they in the play-in? Currently, they are in the play-in. Let me just pull that up. I mean, currently, they're 10th. But they're going to fall. They've lost their last 3 in a row. They're going to fall out of the play-in. And then, we're going to talk a bit about the Warriors. They're 6th. They're out of the play-in. Complete role reversal. So there are a few conspiracy theories here, right, that have been going around. We've talked about, are they trying to move the team to Vegas or sell the team to somebody else? A new theory has emerged. And that is, so a little backstory here. The Mavericks ownership group are part of the Sands Casino family, which own the Venetian, both in Vegas and in China. Very, very wealthy family. They have been pressuring the Texas government to legalize gambling. I didn't realize this was a thing. So they've been pressuring Texas to legalize gambling. The Texas government has been pushing back on this idea. They've been resisting it. They don't want to be a part of it. The theory goes that they are, I'm reading into this theory a bit, but essentially they're trading away Luka and they're doing all this stuff to pressure the government to bend in their favor. They have purchased land in Texas beyond the stadium to build a giant casino there. Like, they are just sitting on land waiting to build a casino. I have no idea if this theory is true or not. Frankly, I feel like we are assuming a lot of people's feelings that we don't know. So the theory has flaws. But I understand why we're doing this with all these theories, because the math isn't mathing, right? All of this doesn't make sense. And when you lack data, what do? You come up with theories. So that's where we're at with this team and with this franchise. And I don't know, there could be some truth to this, but I also, oh my gosh, my dog is whining in the background. I apologize. This is a bachelor apartment, okay? Toronto real estate. There isn't another room for me to put her in. She'll calm down. So, sorry, I'm getting distracted here. I feel like if they were so hell-bent on having a casino, they're so rich. It's like, why does it have to be Texas? It could be anywhere, right? And if you want to attach this team to a casino or something like that, you can move the team, right? And there is precedence for that. Seattle got bought out by a rich person from Oklahoma City. He wanted to move the team to Oklahoma City. He spoke to the NBA about it, and eventually they got the team moved. Right? It screwed over the Seattle fan base, but they did it. They did what they wanted to do. So it's like, why not just do that? So the theory's got flaws, but I imagine more information and or more theories are going to come out in the days to come, maybe even in the months to years to come, because this is going to affect this Dallas Mavericks franchise for a very, very long time. Like I said, minimum 5 years. No exaggeration. Sometimes I can't believe we're already halfway through this decade though. Um the last thing I want to say about all this Dallas stuff before we move on, and that is I like to give a bit of my Raptor fan perspective with all things NBA. And the closest thing I can really compare this experience to, again, from a fan perspective, is when Vince Carter wanted out of Toronto, right? Like things got really ugly here. And I was a fan at that time, letting my age show. It's okay. I was a fan at that time. I remember in that scenario, I was so heartbroken by how it all went down. Heartbroken by Vince as well because we this was pre-player empowerment era, right? Like if Vince makes all those demands today, he just gets what he wants. But this was pre-player empowerment era. And I was devastated to the point where I stopped watching basketball for a couple years. Like I didn't watch Miami win that championship with Shaq and D Wade. I didn't watch that Spurs run and I want to say it was '05 or '06. Like I didn't watch those championships. I was not interested. I lost that level of investment in basketball. And it really wasn't until like there was some false hope in the Jose Calderon, Chris Bosh, Andrea Bargnani situation. That got me back again, but on a more casual basis. Really, it was the DeMar DeRozan era, the bench mob era, that really brought me all the way back as a diehard because those years were just too painful. And I imagine a lot of Mavericks fans are going through that right now, right? It's like if you're let down that much by an organization, I mean, let's be real, this is entertainment. This is escapism. This is fun. This is supposed to be fun. And you let me down that hard, I'll invest my time elsewhere, right? People might remember that, a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans went through this after, winning back-to-back championships and then having a lockout. And it like devastated a lot of the fan base. You don't always get those people back. And I think that's part of this conversation that's missing, that like not only is it obviously bad for the Mavericks, it's bad for the NBA. That's a huge fan base that you're pissing off and potentially losing completely. Now you've got sports betting, again, not legal in Texas. So I don't know how that brings them back unless they're doing it on the DL. But I just don't know. I feel like, how does the league repair this? Do they repair it? Adam Silver likes to be a hands-off commissioner. David Stern would be all up in their business. I'm not saying that would be better. I don't know. I just think it's a shame. And as much as I love Klay Thompson, which I do, we all know I do, I didn't even want to tune into the last game. I was like, this is just sad. This is just depressingly sad. And if I'm feeling that way, Lord knows what they're feeling. So, this is a fan base that created a billboard pleading to Mark Cuban when he was still the majority owner to quote, get Luka some help. That's how passionate this fan base is. They made billboards, not billboards, murals across the city saying, get Luka some help, which led to the Kyrie trade, which we all didn't think was help, but it is. And now who knows what happens to Kyrie's career. He's got a player option at the end of the season, which I think he'll obviously take. He'll rehab on their company time. And who knows where we'll be a year from now. Just utter insanity. Never seen anything like it. All right. We've got other things in the NBA to talk about, right? Why not? Speaking of, we're just going to segue here, okay? the effects of this trade. Well, guess what? The Lakers have won their last 7 games in a row. They are now second in the West. Are they serious championship contenders? Yes. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. The Lakers are now officially in the championship conversation. I talked about this, I think it was last week on the pod, how impressed I was by how, not just the fact that they won a game, but how they won against the Denver Nuggets. Because I thought that was going to be the Achilles heel, right? Jokic, just a dominant center, so versatile that this is the type of team they won't get past. But that was a dominant win to the point where I feel like I'm confident they could win a series against that team. And then you look at the Thunder. For the record, they're not going to catch the Thunder. Right now, the Lakers have 39 wins. The Thunder have 51 wins. So the Thunder are really running away with first place. The Nuggets have 40 wins, but they have 1 extra loss. So Lakers and Nuggets are essentially tied right now. The Thunder are just on a one-way ticket to the Western Conference Finals and possibly the finals. But they lack playoff experience. Who doesn't? Lakers. Nuggets. Are we still picking OKC to go all the way now that Luka is a Laker? This is a question we got to start asking. I haven't seen other NBA pundits ask this question. Maybe it's too early, but it's an observation I personally could not ignore. And I feel like it's too soon to say, but are the Lakers could we have another Lakers Celtics finals? Imagine? It's in the cards. It's in the cards. Maybe people are bored of this rivalry. It wouldn't bother me either way, just because of all that's happened in the last year. I would find it very interesting. This could be LeBron's next title. This could literally be it. And we could be having, just reopening that whole GOAT conversation, which I think is a bit overdone. And we're not going to do that here today, although maybe off season, we'll see. But I'm really liking the Lakers right now. And I am liking their chances. And I'm liking JJ Redick as a coach. And more importantly, they're liking JJ Redick as a coach. Now, JJ Redick is maybe the one person that is lacking deep playoff experience. I'm trying to remember if he made a finals appearance. He was on those Clippers teams, which were second round. Man, that guy just played on so many teams. Lakers face the Thunder April 8th. By the way, mark that in the calendar. April 8th. That is going to be a game to watch. Oh, and another one. This March 14th, they face the Nuggets again. And again on March 19th. Woo! Those are their big games. Oh my God. Sorry. Back-to-back Thunder games. April 6th and April 8th. Wow. That's going to be a huge test for this team. So don't place your bets yet. Not that I'm telling anyone how to bet. That's going to be the test right there. But the Lakers winning a championship, LeBron having a 5th ring at the age of 40 is in the conversation of this season. Something we could not have imagined just over a month ago. Absolutely wild. Another playoff development that is very interesting is the fact that the Golden State Warriors, who also made a big splash, obviously, with Jimmy Butler, now in 6th place. They are out of the play-in. Now, they're only out of the play-in by a game, so they've got more work to do, but it's not out of the question. Now, here's the thing. If they were to start the playoffs today, oh my God, my poor puppy. If they were to start the playoffs today, they would face the Nuggets. And I don't like that matchup for them at all. I really don't, because they also struggle with size, but they struggle with size in a way where they couldn't overcompensate the way the Lakers can right now. I don't think. Would love to be wrong. Would love to see Steph make a significant playoff run again. I think the key for the Warriors is, and now they're 3 games back from being able to pull this off, but it is possible, is if they get in this 4 or 5 spot. Right now, the 4th place team is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies have just lost Jaren Jackson Jr. to an injury. Terrible. Just really like a horrible week for really bad injuries, I have to say. It sucks. They've lost their last 4 in a row. God, I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, my poor pup. The Rockets have lost their last 3 in a row. So they're losing momentum. The Warriors are gaining momentum. I feel very strongly that the Warriors need to be in this 4-5 bracket in order to make a serious run at this year's playoffs. And when I say serious run, I mean at minimum second round. They need this 4 or 5 ticket to either face the Rockets or the Grizzlies, or if those 2 teams plummet and the Timberwolves move up, then that would also be the case. But I think they can't face the Nuggets in the first round. I think that would be really awful for them. It wouldn't be impossible. I'm not saying the Nuggets would sweep. That could be a 6 to 7 game series, but I think the Nuggets would be favored in that. The Mavericks are 10th. They've lost their last 3. Are they going to lose enough to sink out of the play-in? I mean, let's hope so. It's just too depressing, isn't it? I mean, the Suns are 11th, also a depressing scenario. A lot of talk this week about what Kevin Durant's going to do. Like, where is he going to go? Is he going to leave Phoenix? Is he going to, all these things? I want to save it for maybe the off season, or maybe for when he makes any specific comments around it. I was talking about his interview with Draymond and how you kind of had to like read in between the lines a bit with that one. But I feel like that's going to be a major off-season storyline. So watch out for that. Watch out for major Kevin Durant talk. It's just going to get bigger until something big happens. In the East, I strongly feel that Cleveland and the Celtics are destined for an Eastern Conference final. I don't think the Knicks or the Bucks or the Pacers will upset either of those teams. And, respectfully to the play-in, which is an idea I do like, it's Heat, Magic, Hawks, and Bulls that are in the play-in right now. I mean, you assume it's the Heat and the Magic, although Trae Young is always capable of having a good play-in game. Regardless of who it ends up being in the first round, I think either of those teams are getting swept respectfully against the Cavaliers or the Celtics. I just think the Eastern Conference playoffs this year are just, we'll have some fun moments, of course. I mean, I'm a diehard. I always enjoy watching the playoffs, but it's going to be less exciting, I think, in terms of like the Cavs and the Celtics. Now, who am I picking between the Cavs and the Celtics? That I don't know, because the Cavaliers have been just so good this season. Just so good. But also, I mean, the Celtics have also been very good. They're the reigning champ. I think the question comes down to, I mean, yes, it's a playoff experience question, but also like, do the Celtics just run out of gas? Right? When you think about how deep they went last year in the playoffs, then we have the Olympics, and then this season, like, does that team just run out of gas? That, I think, is the real question for them, because if they don't and they're healthy, like Porzingis, Drew Holiday has an injury right now. If they're healthy, I do think they could beat the Cavs. But I think that's going to be one hell of a series. And But, I mean, I like the Cavs. It'd be fun to root for an underdog. The other thing the Cavs have going for them is that they're big. They're big and they're not slow. Like, that is huge. Whether you can hit threes or not, if you're big and you can run, buddy, you're in good shape. So that's kind of my thoughts on both the East and the West right now as we wind down in the season. I just, we all thought the Lakers would get better with Luka, but we didn't think they would be in a they can win this season mode. But here we are. And I think they can. I can't even believe I'm saying it. You let me know if you think I'm crazy. That's fine. I accept. I accept if you think I'm crazy. Someone last week commented that they thought I was a quote unquote Karen because I was sticking up for the city of Toronto when I was talking to Jerome about free agency and why Toronto should be a free agency destination. I don't think that's the definition of the word Karen. I'm just going to say that. I don't think that's what being a Karen is. Maybe being annoying, sure, if you don't like my opinion, but Karen? Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to our Raptors homer moment. So we've won 2 in a row. Hey, how fun was that? How fun was that Orlando game? Absolutely incredible. There's some takes going around about how the Raptors are quote unquote not tanking hard enough. The Raptors have to get, quote unquote shameless in order to avoid the play in. Let's look at the Eastern Conference for a second here. So the Raptors are currently, as of this recording, 20th. Or sorry, we've won 20 games. We're 13th in the East. Okay, we're 13th. Now, the 76ers are only 1 game ahead of us, and the Nets are also only 1 game ahead of us. We are 3 games back from the Chicago Bulls in 10th currently. All 3 of those teams are on losing streaks right now. So is it possible that the Raptors could get into the play-in? It's possible. Is it our goal? No, it wasn't our goal this year. Masai called it officially a rebuild, something he was hesitant to do before this season. And we've got Darko playing different lineups at the end of games. And people might call that shamelessly tanking or what have you. Look, if we end up in the play-in, we end up in the play-in. Right? Like if we're just quote unquote too good that we end up in the play-in, that means we're doing something right. That means we're doing good things with who we have. And I don't think that's anything to get upset about. Now, I know people might be like, oh, it's a good draft, Cooper Flag, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean we won't end up with a good player. We ended up with Scotty Barnes when we should have ended up with Jalen Suggs. Although I do really like Jalen Suggs. And it sucks that he's injured right now. Again, another bad injury. Anyway, I just feel like I really like Darko playing different lineups at the end of close games. I like that we're in close games. I like that Jacoby Walter hit a game-winning shot. And I think that's good for development. Okay, you want a development coach? Darko has proven to be that development coach, right? He's giving these guys the minutes. He's giving them the opportunity to play in close time, in crunch time, which is rare. And I don't think that's necessarily shamelessly tanking, but actually just a really smart thing to do for a team that has 0 playoff ambitions or expectations, which was the case since the beginning. So I'm super happy with Darko this week. I love that this is what he's doing. And frankly, I hope it continues. Why not? Grady Dick, unfortunately, another injury. I think he's being reevaluated in like 2 weeks. So it would be great to get him back before the end of the season, but no one's going to rush it. I mean, look, if the Raptors are good at scouting, we're good at scouting. There's worse problems to have, right? I just spent the first 20 minutes talking about the most depressing worst case scenario situation with an NBA franchise, right? Like I feel like if you are going to quote unquote tank and be in a rebuilding situation. There are so many more depressing versions of this than the current Raptors. Like the current Raptors are fun to watch, which is all I wanted at the very beginning of the season. I was like, I just want this team to be fun to watch. And they are. And that's awesome because the 76ers are depressing to watch. The Nets, I haven't watched the Nets. I don't watch the Hornets. The Hornets have been depressing for years, right? The Suns are depressing. Like all these teams, and I know a lot of that has to do with expectations, but even still, it's like when there's also teams that have just been bad for so long and they're painful and uninteresting. And we are none of those teams. And that should be exciting to people. Like maybe it's because I don't just watch the Raptors, I watch the whole league, that maybe I have a different perspective on this. Like if I only watched Raptors games and I had like Cooper Flag anxiety, maybe I would feel like, "Oh, we're too good. We we need to shamelessly avoid the play-in." And it's like I think we just be ourselves, right? Like I'm not saying we try to make the play-in, but let's just be ourselves, right? Develop the talent we have. We got very, very far developing talent that other people didn't know about. And that was exciting and truly rewarding as a fan to watch. Now, I'm not saying we're going to replicate a Pascal Siakam situation, a Fred VanVleet situation, a Norm Powell situation, or an OG Anunoby situation. But I'm just saying, like, that is a very fun and exciting thing to watch. And so if we get to be a part of that, and if we get to be early in on that experience as diehard Raptor fans who have stayed for the experience, then that's really awesome. That is a best case scenario rebuilding scenario situation. How many times can I say scenario in a sentence? I'm a professional writer. Anyway, every time I write a sentence, like for work, and I see a word duplicated in a sentence, I will rewrite that sentence. It's just a bit of a hang up that I have. That's my thoughts on the Raptors. Super happy with them this week. Super happy with Darko. Okay. I'm not afraid to criticize a coach, but I'm super happy with Darko this week. Super happy with Jacoby Walter. And whether this team ends up in the play-in or not, like I'm here for it. I'm here for the experience. And that's my hot take on that. Okay. Hottie highlight of the week time. Look at that. A tight 40 before getting into the hottie highlight. How about that? Not that I talk for 40 minutes straight with a guest. But anyway, hottie highlight. So we've got some runner-ups here, okay? Which I'll go through. A runner-up. We've got Raptors 2000s night with a promo featuring two literal children in a Jurassic Park setting, which I will remind you is a 90s movie. Dunking, play on the word dunk, cookies in a glass of milk. Are we insinuating we were little children then? I don't know. But way to make me feel old, Raptors. Way to make me feel old. Adorable nonetheless. We have second runner-up, Iitteral, stating, "This is my home right now, and I really hope it's going to be in the future as well." Stating he wants to stay. And we love a player that wants to stay. I mean, think about how unhappy we were when the Iitteral trade first happened. We were just confused. We were scratching our heads. What's going on? Now, we can't imagine our lives without him. A real 180. Love it. Number one. This is an NBA hottie highlight. I'm sorry, it's not a Raptors one. We've got Russell Westbrook's number one fan. His name is Kim. He is from South Korea. He has flown 6,000 miles to see Russell Westbrook for the quote, fourth time. because that is how big of a fan he is. He is Russell Westbrook's number one fan. This guy, for an adult male, is absolutely adorable. Okay. I know maybe adult men don't want to be called adorable, but please know I mean this in the best way possible. He's absolutely adorable. He held up the sign. He got interviewed during the broadcast, got to talk about how he fell in love with Westbrook in his OKC days and has followed his career ever since. And he's been a stan, which, Russ has had some up and down times. So that's saying something, right? Russ gave him his game worn jersey at the end. It's a really great moment. This is the number one hottie highlight. Oh my God, my dog just barked. I'm so sorry. Hottie highlight of the week. Now, personally, not that I criticize my hottie highlights, but I'm going to just a little bit here. I think Russell Westbrook could have done just a little more. Not a lot more, just a little more. He gave the game worn jersey, said hi to him, shook his hand, all that. Wonderful, wonderful, love it. He could have stopped to take a picture. I think that would have been nice. He could have autographed the jersey. I think that would have been nice. Just an extra 30 seconds to 1 minute of his time for this guy who's flown halfway around the world to Denver, a state he would probably never visit otherwise, to see you. And also, too, if it's his fourth time, does Russ not recognize the guy? Does he not remember him? I feel like if I had this like amazing fan from South Korea and they flew to meet me multiple times, I might be like, yeah, I recognize you. I don't know. I mean, he sees lots of people, maybe not, but that is my hottie highlight of the week. How about that? I'm going to wrap it up there. My poor pup, who I tried to bribe with peanut butter, only worked for 12 minutes, but we're working on it. Thank you everyone so much for listening and for tuning in. I appreciate you all so much. Happy 5-year anniversary again to all of us. Okay, you share in my joy. I want you to share in my joy. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave a positive review, all that good stuff. Appreciate it again so much, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.